Space here. All right. Welcome, folks. Welcome. Yes. Welcome to the Wanda Coleman Theater. Welcome to Beyond Baroque. And welcome to the LA Book Launch for Lisa Alvarez, Daniel Olivas, Adolfo Guzman-Lopez. Please give it up. My name is Jimmy Vega. I'm the Interim Executive Director of Beyond Baroque. I'd like to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Tonga peoples. We acknowledge the wrong done to these peoples through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent disposition of their land. As an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting Indigenous communities, their stories, and cultures. For those who don't know, Beyond Baroque is Los Angeles' oldest literary arts center, located here in Venice, California. Yes. Founded in 1968 by George Drury Smith, first as an experimental literary magazine before reimagining itself and becoming the literary home we know it as today. We are based out of the original Venice City Hall and help support writers and help cultivate new writing through our extensive program of writing workshops, readings, and performances. We offer a number of workshops online via Zoom, such as our free weekly Monday night fiction workshop, facilitated by Raquel Baker, and our historic Wednesday night poetry workshop, currently facilitated by Jose Hernandez Diaz. Similarly, we offer several paid in-person and online intensive workshops throughout the year. Next week, poet and performance artist Nikel Davis will host a workshop titled Writing in the Unknown, which will explore the possibilities of ambiguity and the unresolved tensions of a poem's impact. And later in September, we'll host poet Brendan Constantine's Ghost School, a generative workshop that engages with the work that stays with you. Curated for all, but especially for those who suffer with writer's block. We've also partnered with the International Writing Program in the University of Iowa and plan to host a workshop of series of workshops featuring writers from around the globe. The first with Mexican poet Manuel Becerra. Manuel's 6-week workshop, Please Cross the Line, will be held online in October and seeks 25 poets to engage with his pedagogical approach towards writing. Aside from our workshops, we offer several readings throughout the year. Tomorrow, we'll have a little bit of a double feature, welcoming poets from Los Angeles and from out of town for an afternoon of poetry. And later in the evening, we'll host a special jazz and poetry reading featuring Raul Garcia and the Loved Ones, the Matthew Perez Trio, along with poets, including our very own Genesis Perez. Next week, we'll start programming on Thursday night with a dual book launch featuring Gail Ronsky and Paul Lieber. On Friday night, we'll have a noir-style theme book launch for Nikel Davis's Penguin Noir. And on Saturday, we'll host the new series, which features new work that is commissioned by Beyond Baroque by Chris Santiago, Stephen Rains, and Faye Ika Shumari. The primary work that they will be reading has never been read elsewhere. They'll also be reading some new and selected work as well. So please do come back for all of that and for more. And to find out more, please do visit beyondbaroque.org and BB Lit Arts on our socials. Finally, we offer memberships to Beyond Baroque starting at $75 for an individual membership. And right now, while supplies last, if you become a member or if you renew your membership, you get either a Beyond Baroque wood Chuck journal or a Beyond Baroque book, The Writing Life, that we published about a year ago or so. So new members, recurring members, if you'd like to receive one of these with your membership tonight, please do talk to Genesis in the bookstore. And of course, as some of you already know, we have all of our authors' books for sale in the bookstore. So please do pick them up after the reading. I'm sure that they would love to sign them. Finally, just a big word of thanks to our staff for making tonight possible. Ivan Salinas, Eric Alberg in the booth, Genesis Perez in the bookstore. Please give them a round of applause. They keep it all going. And that's it for me, folks. We did some renovations, so this is our very first program coming back from our dark August, as we like to say. We don't host programs in August, and we take a little bit of that time to clean a little bit, to do a little bit of renovations where we need to. This building is 106, 107 years old, so it often needs a lot of work, and we appreciate you being here to support that work that we do. Now, without further ado, I want to welcome to the podium Daniel Olivas.
Thanks so much. Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you to everyone here at Beyond Baroque. Just what a magnificent cultural center. Today I get the honor of reading a bit later from my work, but I get to introduce the first speaker, the first reader, someone I've known for 20 years. 20 years ago, I did a call for submissions for short stories for an anthology that eventually became Latinos in Lotus Land. It was the very first and still the only anthology of fiction about LA by Latinx writers. And a story came through the mail, because that's how we did it back then, in a manila envelope. And it was from Lisa Alvarez, and I just fell in love with the story. And I knew this person knew how to write and knew how to express what it means to be a person. So let me read a little bit about Lisa, and then I'll have her come up. Lisa Alvarez's poetry and prose have appeared in journals including Airlight, Anacapa Review, Huizache, So It Goes, Santa Monica Review, and in anthologies including most recently Women in a Golden State, California Poets at 60 and Beyond, and Dear California, The Golden State in Diaries and Letters. For 33 years, she has taught at Irvine Valley College, where she co-directs the Puente program. In the summers, she co-directs the writers' workshops at the Community of Writers and serves as assistant to the poetry director. Her debut collection of short fiction, Some Final Beauty and Other Stories, was published a month ago by the University of Nevada Press as part of our New Oeste series. Once upon a time in the late 80s, she worked here at Beyond Baroque, managing the bookstore. So, no further ado, Lisa Alvarez.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, folks. This is a bit of a homecoming for me. I have been so fortunate in my life to have friends like Danielle and like so many of you in the audience, and really appreciate you being here tonight. And I really appreciate Beyond Baroque, and I hope you learn to cherish this space as I have through the years, as we're gathered here together in the Wanda Coleman Theater, folks. This is sacred ground, right? And you've helped make a life dream come true for me tonight, to be here to read from my debut collection, published at my age, 64, exactly how I planned it, right? But thank you. This is a collection of 11 stories, loosely linked, and I'll just be reading the beginnings of 2 of them tonight. And this is a reading for my friends here, especially my friends from the West Side, where these stories first began long ago. It seems long ago now, in the 80s, but it seems also very resonant to the moment we're in. The first one I'll read from is called Ocean Park number 12. Teresa sees that the couch is the same. Legless and lime green, hauled up the 2 flights of stairs by 2 guys who pulled over when Lola and Teresa still imagined they could somehow bungee it to the back of Lola's Dodge Dart. Lola enjoyed maintaining that they actually could have done it themselves, but Teresa had given up too soon. The 2 young women had spotted the couch in an alley on their way home from a gallery opening where they noshed on cheese cubes and free wine in plastic cups. The show was a bust, but the buffet table was well worth their time. Melon slices, strawberries, a brie that practically wept onto a platter when cut. That was what they liked about their neighborhood in the mid-1980s. The generous street-side Holloway economy that allowed them to pretty much furnish their apartment for free and feed themselves as well. That and the fact that if you stood on your toes in the shower and glanced out the rectangular window, you could see a slim wedge of the Pacific Ocean. It was only 5 blocks and 1 very broad band of sand away. When the car broke down, they could take the big blue bus to the university for 50 cents. It rumbled by the apartment building every hour and dropped them on the campus 30 minutes later. Nowadays, there were city ordinances and restrictions about free booze and free furniture and a new row of candy corn-colored condos across the street that had taken away the ocean view. Teresa hadn't ridden a bus in years, though she heard that Lola had to when things got bad. Did you know that this was Richard Diebenkorn's old neighborhood, where he painted his Ocean Park series? Lola had whispered when they saw the apartment for the very first time. Teresa didn't, and she said so. She'd grown up in Torrance, an undistinguished suburb to the south that no one, to her knowledge, had ever painted. You can laugh at Torrance. Back then, she didn't even know who Diebenkorn was, but she didn't let on. The 2 guys had a pickup and time on their hands, and soon Lola and Teresa had a couch and 2 more mouths to feed that night for dinner. They weren't hungry themselves, but fixed spaghetti and opened a cheap bottle of California Merlot and then bade the pair a firm goodnight. They never saw them again, but the legless lime green couch resides today in the Santa Monica rent-controlled walk-up where Lola still lives. A large-frame Diebenkorn reproduction hangs above it, all cool, airy oceanic blues and minty greens warmed with purples and yellows cross-cut with lines. Lola bought it for full price at one of the galleries where they ate for free. Teresa had come to recognize the painting as their neighborhood, the light, the hills, and the houses, even the misty wedge of ocean through the shower window. Did you know that Diebenkorn's studio was near here? She would say when people came to visit. It is Teresa's turn to care for Lola, and the first time she's been back to the apartment since moving out 15 years earlier. They hadn't had a falling out as much as a falling away, a gradual drift that grew into years and then the ambush of middle age. Teresa's wall map of the Middle East, rescued from the trash bin of a nearby high school, still hangs where she left it, diagonal from the couch and the Diebenkorn. It is a so-called political map, large and colorful, and takes up most of the wall, equal in size to the window that looks eastward toward the city. Teresa had liked the way the map looked. The brightly colored countries, the blue seas and rivers, the blunt lettering, the borders, how the wooden dowels at the top and the bottom gave it a frame. It's art, she decided. In the classroom, it was something else. But here, on our wall, it's art. Lola agreed. Then the first Gulf War came, and suddenly the map was something else. That January night, when the war was officially declared after months of posturing and troop buildups, Teresa cut out tiny battleships and miniature planes from black construction paper and deployed them with glue in the Persian Gulf and the Indian Ocean. She stayed up all night with her X-Acto knife, pressing deeply into the paper until the razor hit the breadboard she was using. When Lola awoke the next morning, the Persian Gulf in their living room was crowded with the American fleet. Later, Teresa added tanks and helicopters, cruise missiles, soldier silhouettes, arrows indicating movements, flags. The war eventually became her MFA thesis project. She photographed the development of the map and the daily combat coverage on television from a tripod set up in the living room in front of the lime green couch below the relative peace of the Diebenkorn, a series of glamorous headshots of news anchors with the hostilities flaming behind them and banner headlines crawling below. When the war ended, a little more than a month later, her thesis was finished too. For the big MFA show, she scored another castaway couch and placed it in front of the wall where her work hung in the university gallery. Now, when Teresa returns, flying in from San Francisco, another war is on the television, and Lola sits on the green couch below her Diebenkorn, wrapped in a thrift store afghan, a stretchy web of bright orange and brown yarn. The deployed artillery and troops remain where Teresa left them on the Middle East map. It is like nothing has changed, except, of course, for Lola's breast cancer and the fact that this particular war has been going on for 5 years now. And Teresa doesn't take photos anymore, not of anything. Right. That's Ocean Park number 12, and you can look up Diebenkorn's Ocean Park number 12 and see if I got it right. And that's from the beginning of this collection. And there's 11 stories in it, and in the middle, we range from more of LA, LA's past, San Diego, and Orange County. But at the end, the final story, the Frontera Grill, we end up back here where we all are tonight. And I'll just read the first 2 or 3 pages of that. The Frontera Grill. A quarter of a century earlier, the upscale Mexican restaurant arrived in their neighborhood with $10 valet parking and tender green corn tamales the size of thumbs that cost even more than the parking. Back then, the newly coupled young couple had worried that the end was near. He, Nick, meant the lease on their rent-controlled apartment, while she, Maggie, meant their ability to live only 5 blocks from the Pacific Ocean on community organizer salaries. A proper dinner with drinks and dessert would cost half their monthly rent. Nick was opposed on principle. Nick had lots of principles. Principles were cheap, he liked to believe, yet nourishing. Maggie had principles too, but she really would have liked to order from the fancy menu with the artisanal tequilas and the exotic ceviches, at least once. But since they could not, they made fun of what they could not and should not afford as they ambled down 4th Street to pay their bills. They always paid cash. The utility company offices, that elemental triad of water, electricity, and gas, occupied adjacent corners in the still quaint downtown, 3 blocks past the new restaurant and 1 block from their local bank, into which they faithfully deposited their modest paychecks and withdrew enough currency for bills, saving on everything. The stamps to mail in checks for the bills, the price of the individual checks, the processing charges, the gas to drive downtown instead of walking 10 blocks, the quarters for the parking meters if they did drive, the coins for fare if they chose to take the bus. That's how they lived then. They walked around town with cash in their pockets, holding hands, feeling virtuous, solvent, in love. They wore T-shirts from the most recent campaigns like businessmen wore three-piece suits. Thin T-shirts, silk-screened with slogans and demands. Do this, stop that, free them. That was, after all, their own business. The business of doing, stopping, and freeing. Like the swanky restaurant and the utilitarian utility companies, their new apartment complex also stood on 4th Street. The building bore a suspicious resemblance to the cartoony fake Mission Revival style of a nearby Taco Bell franchise where Nick sometimes succumbed to the 49-cent burrito, principles be damned. The pebbly, pitty stucco of their building reminded Maggie of her acne scars, but they could not afford to be choosy. The nonprofit that managed it promoted affordable housing in the seaside city and offered them an emergency opening under a civic relocation policy a month after that early morning when a piece of printed yellow cardstock announced that Maggie and Nick and their neighbors had 30 days to find other homes. Their landlord, famous for his development schemes, had big plans for Bay City Bungalow Court circa 1948, home to 8 aging single-family cottages, big enough for modest post-war family life, but not profitable enough for the looming millennium, especially under the city's still fresh rent control edicts. Even though it would take him eventually 15 years to raise the scratch and get all the permits, the landlord wanted everyone out now. Nick, who had never been evicted before, embraced the yellow notice as a badge of honor. The very forces that he spent his working hours organizing against were now at last oppressing him. He had been waiting for them. He safety pinned the notice to the back of his blue jean jacket where it seemed to swagger as he walked. He gave impromptu speeches in the courtyard to their neighbors. But Maggie, whose childhood featured one eviction after another, felt the familiar rise of anxious shame. She feared this meant she would have to go back to where she came from, those bleak suburbs on the other side of the big city, her crazy mother's place, sharing a room with various half and step siblings and putting up with whichever short-term stepfather had been installed. She feared this would mean the end of her and Nick. And she had loved the dilapidated charms of their bungalow, where, she wailed quietly into his shoulder as only a 23-year-old could wail, they had fallen in love. This was the best place she had ever lived. Maggie whispered this softly and only to Nick. She sensed his quiet disappointment in her even as he consoled her. They weren't supposed to want things to stay the same. They weren't supposed to be satisfied. They were to expect struggle. Well, yes, what happened to other people would indeed happen to them, starting now. On day 28, 48 desperate hours before the deadline, they made their way to 4th Street, searching for the address Nick scrawled in ballpoint pen on the back of his hand. They walked and walked, coming closer to the ocean. They climbed the stairs to apartment number 12, and when Nick knocked, the door swung open of its own accord. Perched on the kitchen counter, waiting, her legs crossed and encased in impressive boots, black leather lace-ups with yellow stitching, was Liz. They recognized her from demonstrations and picket lines, from well-intentioned meetings that went on too long, and from her lead vocals in the local all-lesbian rock and roll band. Liz looked like Patty Duke with aviator glasses, but sang like Janis Joplin. Once Maggie had watched her belt out Me and Bobby McGee on a rickety rented stage in the Nevada desert to an audience of dusty, sunburned do-gooders from around the nation. Rebellious, sensibly dressed Catholics and eco-warriors, grandmothers for peace, and those stalwarts who showed up for righteous causes anywhere, anytime they could. This time they had gathered at the gates of the Nevada nuclear test site, an hour north of Las Vegas, both in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of everything. Liz pulled out everything she could out of the song and then some, changing the pronouns to suit herself. Toward the end, she hopped down into the sand and danced her way across the police line to get arrested with Western Shoshone tribal members while the crowd was still singing along to the endless chorus of la-da-da-da-da-da-da and hey, hey, heys. Now, Liz had landed a real gig. and was using her considerable skills to defend housing access. She wore a suit that seemed at odds with her footwear. She joked that steady employment had cut into her showbiz career and civil disobedience activity, but had also helped her buy her amazing boots. Doc Martens, straight from London, bought locally at the punk shop on Broadway. Liz was, it seemed, their good omen in boots and big glasses. They both knew she didn't have to say yes to them, but she did. Solidarity forever, Liz quipped. Later, walking away with keys in hand and a signed lease, they agreed that Liz was who they wanted to be when they grew up, and that, they believed, would happen any day now. Thank you. Thank you. And now, Adolfo Guzman-Lopez is a reporter for LAist 89.3, formerly known as KPCC. Let's hear it for public radio. I just want to say, just like we need Beyond Baroque more than ever, we certainly need public radio more than ever. Please subscribe. End of public service announcement. His voice will be familiar to many in tonight's audience. In 1994, he co-founded the performance poetry group, the Taco Shop Poets, and in the early 2000s, he created the poetry series, The Spine of Califas, at Tropico de Nopal Gallery in Echo Park. Tonight, Adolfo is here to read selections from California Southern, Writing from the Road, 1992 to 2025. Please welcome Adolfo.
What an honor and a thrill. What I read tonight is dedicated to Lisa, to Daniel, to Beyond Baroque, and everybody in their circles who do so much for the city, for the artistic, cultural, and life of the city. My collection, California Southern, Writing from the Road, 1992 to 2025, is made up of 55 poems that are based in places. It's all poetry of place. And it includes several arrivals. It includes an arrival at the San Diego-Tijuana border, looking towards San Diego, looking at the hills and the sky and the clouds, like I did so many times crossing from Tijuana into San Diego. And the book also includes my arrival in Los Angeles as a 31-year-old and what I carried with me to this city. San Diego, Tijuana, Veracruz, Ciudad de Mexico, and the eagle that perched on the cactus that called me to Los Angeles, the Templo Mayor that laid buried here. In my city, Mexico City, jaguar heads of volcanic stone became cornerstones for colonial palaces, became podiums for politicians, became baptism wells for El Nuevo Mexicano. In my new city, this city, adobe forts became foundations for post-war tract homes as far as the eye can see, and they sway like Kansas wheat fields. It's here, the California city, buried under the oil well city, buried under the Zoot Suit city, buried under the Dunbar city, and those Orthodox shuls under the Brooklyn Avenue sonidero speakers, they're there. You can hear them. And that east side minaret that blasts narco corridos, the east side minaret blasts cri-cri, the east side minaret blasts na 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 na. Everybody has to cross the river with its forearms graffiti tattooed, and those frogs that sleep under the concrete, the rows of grapevines that sleep under the concrete, the boom booms from the Mask, the Vex, and the Moratorium, they all sleep under the concrete. You can use your hands to dig deep. You can use your nose to dig deep. You can use your mouth to dig deep. You can use your heart to dig deep. You know, artists have made me see this city in so many different ways. I am so indebted to the painters, to the sculptors, to the performers who I've talked to over the years, whether it's Alison Sarr talking to me about the Lady Justice. Embodied is the name of the piece in front of the Hall of Justice, and her talking to me about how she came up with the face, that the face is made up of, all these ethnicities and races in Los Angeles, and she came up with a composite, or even when you go there on Temple and Spring, all these words that are on the dress of that Lady Justice, words that she and her staff got from people all around Los Angeles when asked, what does justice mean to you? And the words there are in English, they're in Spanish, they're in Italian, they're in all these different languages. This poem is for Irena Cervantes, the Chicana artist, and it's called Toltec in the City. My other self, you, me, we, strolling over an LA river bridge, haters' flayed skin flapping in the sunset breeze, lying on a bed of reds and magentas, roller coastering on hips onto my tongue. Love me do as we mouth to mouth word glyphs, trenzas and cartridges, cobblestones for freedom, our grandparents' skin, the color of the smoggy sunset. Surface to air, raise fists, take down caravels bobbing lost between the clouds, jaguar lips, sink no ships. Cyclical hearts hold babies soon sacrificed on the altar of assimilation. Ride white lilies, black eagles, along the gridlock streets of Nepantla. Tron quick turns to dodge agents' bullets, deportation cuffs. My wrist, wrapped by your fingers as we jump off the bridge, finding tides for the future. The earliest poem in this collection is a poem I wrote on April 29th, 1992 from my bedroom in San Diego. I was still in college, and, through the TV, all those images were coming over from LA, the fires and everything that was happening. And it affected a lot of people, a lot of my generation, my college generation in San Diego. And obviously up here, it affected a lot of people. The most recent poem in the collection is called Fires. I asked the poet, do you know anything about Jervy's house? Salomon posted that his house burned down. Beatriz wrote that it's like that feeling of losing her house in the war in El Salvador. Hilda lives close to me in Long Beach. She posted that her relatives' homes are gone. Cato wrote about the landmarks, loved and gone, now living as memories, the map maker's home, the Episcopal Church, the Bunny Museum, the Will Rogers Ranch House. You remember Will Rogers, that OG influencer of a century ago. I told my editor, the mission arches in the photo are on the west side of a courtyard where you drive into the Pasadena Jewish Temple and Center. You can, yes, I spoke in present tense, park diagonally where those 4 and 5 foot poles are. The flames behind the arches consuming the homes behind the synagogue? No, I said. That's part of the center. The sanctuary's to the right, I said, just outside the yellow-orange photo. It's where I attended services several times last year on days that I would work late on a Friday and couldn't get down to Long Beach in time for services. The rabbi told me staff entered the buildings and saved 13 Torah scrolls. It was Tuesday. I sat down and opened the Word file to write the story about the shul. Same feeling like when I sat down 10 years before to write the obituary of my spoken word friend, Michelle Saros. On Saturday, Jeff asked me to host in the afternoon. I was on the air from 2 in the afternoon to 8 at night. Updates every 10 minutes, acreage, containment, los muertos, homes called structures. In the texture of my voice, I said, memories, displacement, streets, sidewalks, wood, roofs, laughter, writing, art, ceramics, watercolors, oils, pastels, typewriters. In LA News for almost 25 years, and I always thought the big one was going to be an earthquake. Congratulations, everybody, for being on the IRL platform tonight. The revolutionary platform, the one where we get to look each other in the eye, listen to each other, where it's harder to be cynical and dismissive and knee-jerk, you fill in the blank, right? We got to do more of this. And thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce Daniel Olivas. Followed him from afar for a long time. And man, this guy's prolific. Oh, man. You didn't notice, Daniel. I was rubbing my shoulder up against you. Man, I hope that rubs off. As most of you know, he's the author of 13 books of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and drama, including Waiting for Godínez, a tragic comedy in 2 acts. That's from the University of New Mexico Press. Chicano Frankenstein, a novel. That's through Forest Avenue Press. And My Chicano Heart, New and Collected Stories of Love and Other Transgressions, University of Nevada Press. Daniel Olivas received his degree in English Lit from Stanford and a law degree from UCLA. By day, he's a senior attorney with the California Department of Justice here in LA, where he specializes in land use, environmental enforcement, and affordable housing. Everybody give it up for Daniel.
Thank you so much, Adolfo. And my wife and I are members of that temple that burned down. And after the fire, when we drove by, we were just in tears. And but we will rebuild. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my newest book, Waiting for Godínez, which is a play. And then I'm going to have a couple of wonderful actors, Lisa and Adolfo, who will help me do a few pages from it. In 2019, I was yet again distressed by the anti-immigrant policies of Trump. And I had already written fiction and poetry and essays. And in fact, going back 41 years ago when I was in law school at UCLA, I wrote a piece for the Chicano Law Review on factory raids and how it was unconstitutional to racially profile a workforce simply to save enforcement money. So I decided to write a play. I had never written a play. I don't have MFA, I have a law degree, which taught me how to write magical realism fiction, but did not teach me how to write a play. So being a fan of plays, reading plays throughout my life, and my parents taking us to plays, I decided to teach myself how to write a play. And I wrote this play, the first version of this play, in 13 days. I was so angered by the absurdity of what was going on, and that's the point. It's inspired by Samuel Beckett's great absurdist play, Waiting for Godot. And if you know the play, Godot never shows up. and it is one of those great existential, absurdist dramas, but is very funny. I decided to put it in here and now in a park very much like the parks in Los Angeles, like MacArthur Park. And so we're going to bring this microphone over here. Adolfo is going to read the setting and the little introduction. Oh, well, let's bring it closer, and I'll let you take over. You can take over here first, and you can read the Act 1 and the very beginning. Okay.
A moonless evening in a city park, a single tree with only a few green leaves on its branches presides over the park, surrounded by lush green grass. A park bench sits nearby. A dirt path runs in front of the tree and park bench. Off in the horizon, we see the silhouette of skyscrapers. At rise, Jesus, also called Chuy, sitting on the park bench, is trying unsuccessfully to take off a huarache from his left foot. He wears khaki pants, a white short-sleeved guayabera, a wristwatch on his left wrist. His clothes are dusty, but otherwise neat. He wears no hat. Exhausted, he gives up and, in disgust, drops his left foot onto the grass. Isabel, also called Chavalita, wears the same outfit as Jesus and also dusty, enters walking stiffly, then stops near Jesus and leans in to take in the entire scene.
Híjole.
Well said, Chuy. I have often said that at times the only proper response to life is híjole. So I let out aloud, híjole, when life does not go as it should. Sometimes we have no choice but to yell, híjole, my friend. Híjole!
Why are you yelling?
My friend returns. Cuéntame, where were you last night? I thought I had lost you forever.
I cannot get my pinches huaraches off. They fit yesterday before I got deported. Now they're cutting through my feet.
Deported? Again? Did they beat you?
No, of course they did not beat me. They put me into a cage again.
A cage? But you are not a dog.
Are you so sure?
A dog would not wear huaraches.
There's a logic to your argument, Chavalita. I cannot deny that.
And they do not deport dogs either. Es la verdad. At least such things are not mentioned in the newspapers. Certainly not the newspapers that I read. And my Google searches never lead me to any news about dogs being rounded up and deported. Nunca. Indeed, people just love dogs. People everywhere are adopting stray perritos all the time and taking these wretched animals to live in beautiful casas by the beach. Dogs living like royalty at the beach.
See?
Imas, would a dog wear a shirt?
No.
Would a dog wear pants?
No.
Would a dog wear a beautiful watch that, though it has stopped, is still correct twice a day?
No. Oh, my beautiful watch is dead. It was a gift from you, remember? So many years ago. That time we went on vacation in, where was it? Was it in Mexico? We were so young, barely out of our teens. I cannot remember where we went. Ay, Dios mío. My yesterdays slip away faster when I try to remember, and the more I forget, the lonelier I feel.
Ni modo. The point is, Chuy, you are not a dog. Eres una persona, no un animal. You are as much as a person as I am, my friend.
But if I were a dog, I would not be deported each night, and I would live in a beautiful casa at the beach.
Es la verdad. But you would still be a dog living in a beautiful house at the beach. As the great Mexican poet said, a dog is a dog is a dog.
What do poets know?
Poets understand the mysteries of our existence. And then they write beautiful poems explaining it all to us. Without poets, we would know nothing. Without poets, we would be nothing but animals crawling in the dust.
Es cierto?
Por supuesto,
So the poets say that we are not dogs?
in so many words.
Do dogs wear hats?
No, dogs do not wear hats.
No hats.
No hats.
I do not wear a hat.
See, you do not even own a hat.
I am therefore a dog.
No.
And Isabel does not own a hat.
No.
And so Isabel is a dog también.
No.
Los dos somos perritos.
No. No.
These huaraches are slicing through my feet. Por favor, Chavalita, help me get them off, I beg you. Have mercy on your old friend. We have been friends since we were children. You must help me. Por favor, ayúdame.
Tell me about the cage.
They are slicing through my feet.
The cage.
Every night I get deported, and every day I tell you about the cage.
No.
See, every night I fall asleep here on this pinche bench. You sleep over there under that pinche tree, and they come and deport me, throw me into a cage, a cold, horrible pinche cage fit for a dog. And then I escape because they never lock that pinche cage. And I make my way back to this park, and I always find you snoring over there like a baby. Without a care in the world, I crawl back onto this bench, tired, cold, and fall asleep. Then you wake me up every day, and every day my feet are swollen and these pinches huaraches slicing through my skin. Híjole.
How can this be true? I do not remember any of this. Who takes you? Are there many people? Do they have weapons? Do they snarl and abuse you? They must come here silently, like mimes, and slowly lift you from that bench so as not to wake you. Otherwise, I would awake from the noise. I would fight them off, protect you truly.
Every night, thrown into a cage like a dog while you sleep under that pinche tree.
But your story makes no sense, Chewy. Once they deport you, why would they put you into a cage? If you are deported, they are free of you. And you are free of them, free to wander in Mexico. No need for a cage.
So there's no cage?
If your story is to make sense, which is what most stories should do, even stories involving you, my old friend, then there is no cage unless
Unless what?
they put you in the cage before they try and deport you.
Yes, that must be it.
Makes perfect sense. First the cage, then the deportation. We must put the horse before the cart. See? Any other way is not logical.
But I trick them. I sneak out and make it back to be with you so we can wait.
See, I solved the mystery.
That is brillante, chavalita.
You are not deported after all.
Es cierto.
Every night they take you, put you in a cage, but do not deport you, and you always escape because the babosas do not lock the cage. Not so bad, eh? Could be worse. 10 men could give you a beating and throw you in that ditch over there every night.
Is that worse than a pinche cold cage?
The beating alone is worse than being thrown in a cage, cold or not.
I suppose that's true.
So, as the famous Mexican playwright said, All's well that ends well.
Who said that?
Names do not matter. The words matter.
Por favor, help me with these.
Híjole, your foot is so swollen, I cannot get this huarache off.
Pull harder.
Yes.
Now the other one.
Success again.
Mucho mejor.
As the great Mexican philosopher said, a friend in need is a friend indeed.
So many Mexicans saying so many things.
Chewy, tell me more about your night away from me.
¿Qué quieres saber?
Tell me everything, por favor. From the very beginning, every detail.
Last night, as you sat under that tree, promising to keep watch over me as I slept on the bench, you said, Chuy, my dear friend, you have nothing to worry about. Te prometo. A promise for me is as good as gold. That is what you say every night. Good as gold. So I believed you. Why not? We have been friends since we were little children, and you have never lied to me. Pues, I closed my eyes, I was safe, and sleep came to me. And then it happened. I felt strong hands grab my arms, my legs, my head. These strong men and women, agents in green uniforms, lifted me from the bench. I struggled. I tried to call your name, but nothing came from my mouth. I hoped that you would see what was happening to me. I twisted my head even as one of the agents squeezed it with strong hands. And then I saw you, asleep, snoring under that pinto tree, a carefree baby. I tried to scream, but my tongue was dead within my mouth. The agents tightened their grip and carried me away, and you snored. They took me to a big black van, threw me in the back with all those men, women, and children. Los niños estaban llorando. And the agents piled into the front seat and laughed at us. The driver said, "You're going home now." Home? But I was already home, here in this park, contigo. And they drove throughout the night until suddenly we stopped and an agent opened the back of the van. The other agents pulled us out one by one and herded us into a row of small cages. And one by one, they put us each into our own cage, so small I could not stand. I had to crouch. The children kept crying, then their parents started to cry too, and one by one the agents closed the cages with a loud clang. And they laughed at us. ¿Entiendes? The more we cried, the louder the agents laughed. And as we whimpered, the agents congratulated each other on a good job. Some lit cigarettes, then slowly they wandered off, laughing, joking, proud of themselves. Que valientes. Finally, we could hear them no longer, and after an hour or so in those cold, dark cages, the others quieted down, and eventually the crying was replaced with soft, sad snoring. The children and their parents, all in their own cages, were tired, and all they could do was sleep. Pero no dormí. I refused to sleep. I needed to come back here, to you, Chavalita. I needed to stay awake and come up with a plan. And then it happened. As I tried to get comfortable, crouching in that cage to plot my escape, I leaned against the cage door and it fell open. I could not believe my luck. Those babosos forgot to lock my cage. I crept out on my hands and knees like a baby and then stood like a man. I looked at the pobrecitos in their cages, snoring softly, and my heart broke. But what could I do? I have no doubt the agents did not forget to lock all the cages. That would make no sense. So I was the lucky one. I looked around and could not see any of the agents. They were probably drunk someplace, laughing at us, celebrating their great conquest. I crept away silently into the night to come back to this park, to this place, my home, to be with you, my friend. Esa es toda la historia. And do you know what I thought about as I walked those many miles back to this park? I thought of you, Chavalita. I thought of your face, your voice, your embrace. That is what kept me walking, step by step, mile after mile, the thought of you. But I also had other thoughts. Tenía preguntas, such as, why do you lie to me? You make promises to protect me, but you do not. And that means you lie to me each day, every day. ¿Me estás escuchando?
Oh, Chewy, that story is unbelievable. How can any of this be true? You know I would always protect you, even from a horde of agents with strong hands. You must be dreaming. My word is as good as gold. I have told you. I would never lie to you. ¿Entiendes? If agents ever tried to touch you, I would fight them off.
Cada noche.
Oh, Chewy, lo siento. I know you would not lie to me. If you say it happens every night, it happens every night.
Cada noche.
Sí, Chewy. Cada noche.
Chavalita, I wanted to stop. No more cages. No more escaping. No more swollen feet. Ya, basta.
Your pain is never ending, eh?
Sí. Thank you. Thank you. So that is our reading for tonight. Should we take some questions, perhaps? Is there time for questions? I don't know. How does this work? Yeah, yeah, sure. I think he's saying yes. Jimmy, is Jimmy here? No. Okay. Oh, yes, you say yes. Okay. So, come on up. We have a few minutes for questions, and then we're going to do a book signing afterwards. So, does anyone have any questions for Adolfo or Lisa or me?
Oh, there's a question. Could we stand together? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we can stand together.
Three of the Southern California area's handsomest writers.
Do you have a vested interest?
That's Andrew Tonkovich, editor of the Santa Monica Review and hosts the host of Bibliography on KPFK too. So, any questions? And if there aren't any questions, we can go sign books. But no.
Or whatever the number is of the total.
It had to end. Okay, don't get me started on, how I see this book now, that it's done, that it's the object, that it's like in my hands, that people take it and read it and comment and I'm proud of it, but I also, look at how it could have been differently and that sort of thing. But that's the whole point, isn't it? I wouldn't have had an opportunity had I not finished the book to think about the overlap between what I do 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, as a reporter, and what I do as, kind of off the clock and sometimes on the clock, kind of writing. Yeah, they're poems, but it's the stuff that is on the editing room floor is the phrase, but it's not on the editing room floor, right? It's those connections I have with people on street corners, like Richard Serra talking to him in Costa Mesa when he inaugurated his sculpture there, right? It's like, oh man, come on, right? So the story got done, it's out there and it aired, but there's so much more, right? So non-answer to your question.
Any other questions? Oh, yes.
I had a similar question. Lisa, what is the significance of 11? Such a rich number. I'm glad you think so. The book came about. I might have been, I heard myself say this to a reporter the other day, I might have been the most unambitious writer to ever come out of the UCI MFA program. I was completely happy teaching, publishing the occasional story and the occasional poem, but there was something about when I hit my 60s where I was like, I would really like a book. And then I was thinking, do I have enough time to write a book? And then I thought, maybe I have already written a book. And so I had this little sort of moment of crisis over the winter break, facing another 18-week semester. And I looked at the stories that I had written over the course of, I think, maybe 12 years, 15 years. I don't know when the first one was born. And I thought, I think I already have written a collection. And without actually telling anyone, because I knew if I began to tell people, it would become a big thing, and and it would take longer. And Mari is nodding at me. I just spent about 10 days, and I wildly put together a manuscript. And I sent it off to two lovely independent presses, and I got one very nice rejection, and I got one very lovely acceptance. And then I really began to write the book, because then the press and the wonderful readers and editors they gave me said, "This is good. We like it. It could be better," and they helped me make it better. My friends at the press and my friends who are in the room. And so, yeah, that was my discovery. I had already written the thing. And if I had waited much longer, it would be, we wouldn't be here tonight, or they would be here tonight, but I would not be here. I would still be at home writing my book or in the audience, and then going home and working on it. But now I'm writing the next book. So I just want to say, some of you might have already written your book. You just have to sort of go and see. I mean, I'm looking now at all those occasional poems I've published now over the last 15 years, and now I'm thinking, maybe I've written that book too, right? I just didn't see it yet, and then it became this thing. And like you, I look at it and I think, could it have been another thing? Maybe, but it's this thing, and it's a beautiful thing. All right, that's my answer.
And just quickly to give you a little background, University of Nevada Press had asked me and the poet Leon Salvatierra to be the acquisition editors for their new line of Latinx books called The New Oeste. And they had already published several writers, including me. And so when Lisa's manuscript came in, I was just so excited. I was just delighted. And this is the type of thing that is one of the more fulfilling things about being an editor, is being able to help birth a book.
And real quick shout out to Hinchas de Poesía Press, which published my book. Thank you. Yeah, Yago Cura, who's a LA Public Library librarian and poet himself. And I was so fortunate. I kind of cheated because I didn't send out submissions to be rejected. And, this book probably would have been rejected, right? But it came out of a partnership with Yago because I had worked with him on a couple of other projects, writing projects. And then he told me after, hearing about Taco Shop Poets, decades ago and everything else, he said, "Adolfo, you don't have a book." And I said, "Yeah, I know."
You had a question? Yes. First play. So, as all writers in this room know, it's not the actual 13 days of writing, it's all the year before or years before. So, when I got the idea about doing a play, my poor wife, Sue, who is my law school sweetheart, um, she, she had to put up with me watching every version of Waiting for Godot that's online. And there's an amazing, crazy Spanish version. There's a version with Zira Mostel and Burgess Meredith that was broadcast back when network television broadcast live plays back in the late 50s, early 60s. And I reread the play. I had read it in high school. And so I developed it over many, many months. And I decided I got to start writing. And since I have a day job, I worked, I wrote in the morning, I wrote at night, I wrote on weekends, and there was, I think, like a 3-day weekend. I did a lot of writing, and I felt like I had a script. And I researched how to submit scripts to theaters. And over the course of several years, the play had readings with Playwrights Arena, the Road Theater, and the Gary Marshall Theater, and then a theater in New York called IATI, which is the oldest Latinx theater, founded in the 1960s. And then it had a full production last year in Sacramento at Teatro Espejo, which is a wonderful Latino theater up in Sacramento that was founded in the mid-1970s. The strangest thing about doing a play is, and developing plays, you work with actors and directors who are all professionals at these theaters, and it becomes collaborative, and the play developed and got longer from the original version that I did. And so there's the other hands on this, on the creation of this play. In the same way that editors work with you, and your editors work with you, there are a lot of people who help, birth our manuscripts.
I have a question for Lisa. This is your first book. Why the title Some Final Beauty?
Well, I looked at the titles of my stories in there, trying to find one that could lead the collection. So there's a bulletin board somewhere in my house that has all the other variations. Like, everyone was singing Freiheit and other stories, right? False flag and other stories, right? So I sort of went through that, and I decided Some Final Beauty sort of covered a lot of the other things. It's the title of one of the stories there. I don't like to have favorites, but it's very. I feel very strongly about that one, but it seemed to sort of hold the rest of them together in a way. And then I was able to find that beautiful cover image by the remarkable California artist Andrea Bowers. Some of you might have seen her one-woman show at the Hammer a couple years ago. Bowers is a feminist activist artist. Her work has been on the Santa Monica Review a few times, and I was just so struck by a lot of the work she was doing. I asked her for that cover, and that really seemed to be in conversation with the title and many of the stories. The title of the art piece is "Woe." Do you what? I'm looking at Andrew. It's a line from Ophelia in Hamlet, and what you have here is an Ophelia figure, right? In sort of in a moment of transformation. And I think it's woe to me to have seen what I see. Do you see what I see? And I think that speaks to a lot of what my characters are trying to do. They have seen some things that are hard to see, and they want to know if the rest of us can see them too. And I was just so pleased to have a brown-skinned Ophelia figure on the cover of my book. And all honor and gratitude to Andrea Bowers, who just gifted me that image, folks, free, because she also was involved in a lot of the campaigns. This is a book that tells the story of a lot of political activists. And I was really pleased when I went to see her exhibit at the Hammer to recognize that she was involved in a lot of the political campaigns that my characters have been involved in and that I've been involved in. And so it just seemed to fit there. Thank you for the question.
Good question. And actually, I have one question for Adolfo. You are a journalist. We hear your voice on the radio. But you're a poet. Can you talk about that transition from journalism to poetry?
Oh my God. It's like the question, for somebody who's bilingual, do you dream in English or in Spanish, right? Or whatever language, right? It's tough. Out of college, I wanted to be a writer, a journalist, and I was in San Diego, and it was hard to get a job as a full-time reporter there. It's a medium-sized market. And I was working at a cultural center and really into the writing about the music scene in Tijuana and San Diego. And then I saw some poets, some New Yorican poets, Jesús Papuleto Melendez, and in San Diego, and I was just really, I said, oh, I want to do that, with jazz and everything like that. So it's kind of, I don't know, Daniel. It's sometimes my poetry. I have victories and successes, and sometimes I wonder whether that's affecting my reporting, and I'm not able to give as much attention to my journalism. Maybe I'd be a better reporter if I wouldn't have spent so much time as a poet, right? Or a better poet if I didn't spend so much time as a reporter. It's hard. With poetry, if you call it that, it's the feeling, right? It's some transcendence, right? It's some kind of being out in the world, and yeah, you have to communicate what the facts are, why something's important, or why you're talking to somebody. For example, the story I worked on today, wrote an obituary, it airs on Sunday, on Vicky Tafoya, 57-year-old, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. You may not know her name, but you know the rockabilly doo-wop revival scene of the 90s, and she was part of that. And it's the Derby, it's swingers, it's that from 98 of all those young people dancing and everything. And she was at it. She belonged to an organization called the Doo-Wop Association of Southern California. And so I wrote a story, and put music in it and everything. But there's a lot more there from living in these stories.
Yep. And frankly, I thought your poetry, I've read your poetry before, and then the poetry you read tonight, in many ways is like reporting. It's reporting the soul of the city, and so that is reporting to me, just more musical. So I think we are done with our questions. Jimmy, do you want to close out the evening? Then we'll go sign books.
Yeah. Well, folks, I just want to say thank you for being here. Let's give it up one more time for Daniel, Lisa, Adolfo. Congratulations. We've got books in the bookstore. We got a reception outside, out in the Poets Garden. So please stick around and enjoy Friday night. Thanks for being here.